Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into First Take. Thank you for being with us. And I got everybody in studio. My guy, RC, in July?
Man, it's a whole new deal.
What?
It's a whole new deal, man. I was standing in line outside, and I was like, man, how I get in here? You guys are so big time now. Thank you for having me.
Is this your first time in the new studio?
My first time.
What'd you think?
I think it's crazy. Where do the people pop up in the wall at, though, Molly? That's what I want to see.
Hawk, Mike T, how we doing, guys?
Good to see you, Molly.
Good to see you. Summer's going well. Everybody's looking clean, so I'm glad I came back to everybody being here. I can't believe this is your first time, though. No, it's a good spot.
First time.
You're going to run into quite a few people, I'll tell you that
There's
much.
important people here?
Oh, there's important people. We're way low on the totem pole, ESPN out here. All right, guys, speaking of important people, let's get into those Dallas Cowboys. They have not played in a Super Bowl since '95. They haven't reached an NFC Championship game in the past 30 years, the longest drought in the conference after the Commanders and Lions made it each of the past 2 years. The Cowboys finished 7-10 last year and will have a rookie head coach in Brian Schottenheimer replacing Mike McCarthy. But as the veterans report to camp, they're keeping their hopes high. Here's Cowboy Pro Bowl guard Tyler Smith on expectations.
Super Bowl champions. That's always the expectation. So, yeah.
You think that's a realistic goal?
I think it is a realistic goal because we can win the Super Bowl. Like, why not? Why can't we win? Do you think it's unrealistic?
You think the roster is in place to do that?
I think it is in place to do that, yes, sir.
You know, that's like when you look in the mirror, it's like, why not me? Why not us? It's just one of those moments, right? Anything can happen. RC, tell me this. Do you feel like Dallas is closer to the NFC Championship or missing the playoffs entirely?
Okay, so this is a tough question because I believe the Dallas Cowboys are a playoff team, and so I went with the NFC Championship. And when you look at their division, that's the hard part. The Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, what they accomplished last year. But I believe in Dak Prescott. I believe in George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and a defense that should be vastly improved with Matt Eberflus, who wasn't a great head coach in Chicago, but one thing that defense did was get after the quarterback, stop the run, and keep you from having big plays offensively. And so to me, it's going to be about how quickly they gel when you think about the big three on the offensive side of the football. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson at the tight end position. If there's protection and Sharpe can start to moving and getting things going the way he wants them offensively, this team has a chance to be really good.
Mike T?
Yeah, I see it totally different, and here's why. If you take the division winners relatively the same, and we talk about three playoff teams, the three wildcard teams, it's two in the North. To me, it'll be Minnesota and Green Bay if Detroit wins. And I don't think they're better than Washington, guys. I just think their window has closed. I believe in Jayden Daniels, Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, and I do think Brian Schottenheimer will make Dak Prescott better. And RC said earlier, like, Matt Eberflus will be a consequential hiring, Molly. But at the end of the day, they're not in the top 7 in the NFC.
I think they'll compete with Washington. I think George Pickens is the most impactful addition of the offseason in the NFL because of what it does for this team and how it right-sizes this offense, right? You have two #1 options on the outside. You talked about Ferguson in the middle. Now Dak Prescott, your all-everything quarterback, is going to get the ability to play at his best. Here's how it trickles down. Defenses have to play you honest up top. It probably opens up your run game. It sustains drives to assist your defense. Big question, offensive line, defensive line. And if Micah Parsons is the Micah Parsons we expect in this year, I think the Dallas Cowboys absolutely are close to the NFC Championship.
And, too, look at this trio when you think of their quarterback and their two wide receivers. You're going to put them up there. To me, they're going to be the second best trio in all of the NFL. I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are #1 with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. But when you think about Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, you can also go to Detroit with Amon-Ra, St. Brown, right, and J-Mo Williams. They can do everything offensively. They have a piece when you look at Dak Prescott, who was the second in MVP voting just 2 years ago. Had over 35 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. George Pickens can win 50-50 balls. And now Hawk talked about this on Get Up. He's going to get some of those one-on-one matchups with the #2 and #3 corners of other football teams, along with Jake Ferguson, to me, being a top 5 receiving tight end. This team has endless possibilities on the offensive side of the football. It's going to be about the physicality of each front line. And we are doing this thing where if we're not expecting the Cowboys to be a Super Bowl winner, they have to be the bottom of the barrel, and I don't think it has to be one of the other.
Yeah, I would take everything RC said, and I would just remove Dak Prescott, and I would put in Jayden Daniels. When you think about, he was earnestly in the MVP conversation as a rookie. He'll be better with Cliff Kingsbury. And then you think about, well, they had questions about their offensive line. Now you have Laramie Tunsil and Josh Connerly. You get Deebo Samuel. Hopefully they get Terry McLaurin figured out. But to me, I like Dak Prescott. I love Jayden Daniels. And by the way, the other thing about Dak guys, like if we're being candid, through the last 3 years, he didn't finish the season. So that matters as well. And I just think Washington has surpassed Dallas. And I think because of the strength of the North, they're on the outside looking in.
What would you say Dallas's biggest hurdle is?
Defensive line, stopping the run. I mean, when you watched them a year ago, that was something they didn't address, right? And the other part was the run game, but I think they have addressed that. But that's where George Pickens helps take a little pressure off that and alleviate that pressure to say, hey, you need to be able to run the ball. They will. That'll be a focal point for them. But if teams want to stack the box against someone like George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb on the outside, good luck.
Well, you know what their biggest obstacle is? Their owner. I'm surprised it took us that long. I mean, we're going to talk about an obstacle. It's going to be, right, we looked at the hiring process last year, and we were thinking about all of these hot names that were going to be guys that can have opportunities to interview for this job. And then they settled, which we felt like, or like I felt like, on Brian Schottenheimer. Is he settling with Brian Schottenheimer or hiring Brian Schottenheimer because he feels like he can have a level of control, right? Brian Schottenheimer needs to have the keys to the entire organization. He needs to be able to do exactly what he wants to do offensively, especially with Jerry Jones going out and getting him an added piece. There can't be too many cooks in the kitchen again in Dallas. Jerry Jones has to understand he's not going to continue having year after year to do this. Right? And so it's about now releasing some of that power, releasing some of that control, and allowing a head coach to be a man.
Well, but like T, learning to let go, it's very hard in life.
Yes, it is. And I would say this too, Molly, just to follow on RC's point. I think it's their strategy that has hurt them. Go back to Zeke Elliott, Dak Prescott, go to CeeDee Lamb, and now presumptively Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is going to get signed. It just cost them a lot more money. And when you're in an arms race with Washington and Philadelphia, instead of paying Micah Parsons $34 million, which is what Nick Bosa is, they're going to pay him $41 million plus. Now when you lose guys like Jordan Lewis, DeMarcus Lawrence, those are good players you could have afforded if you had paid your guys proactively.
Well, I agree with both of you. When you talk about Jerry Jones, when I think of Jerry Jones, the issue is Jerry Jones, the GM, not Jerry Jones, the owner. And so through this season, the Jerry Jones GM has done a little better than we've seen him in the past offseason.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know how we discussed the NFC East and no one mentioned the Eagles, but that's where I want to go now and focus in on Philly because our guy Cam Newton had a controversial take on the Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts on his podcast, 4th and 1. Cam?
In fact, Jalen Hurts, who was brilliant, who deserved to be the MVP of the Super Bowl, who, yes, has gone head-to-head against, or toe-to-toe against Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowls twice and been the better player on the field in both of those games. All those things are true. However, if you're going to break it down to, there are players that you say to them, just go out there and win this for us, kid. And then there are others who you find yourself in a situation, if you were to flip-flop places with some of the other top quarterbacks in the NFL, it might look different. I'm not saying I agree with what Cam is saying. I'm saying I understand it.
Yeah, and I would push back because, bottom line, he got it done. And the rest of those players were projecting. And again, it bears repeating. He has gotten a lot better at what the whole world, myself